So now it's time for our third session, the business case for local value addition benefits for MNCs. Welcome back to all of you. And this session explores how global companies can integrate local value addition into their strategies, not just to meet sustainability goals, but to create real business value and shared prosperity. So we're joined by a powerful panel of corporate leaders and policy experts who are bridging the global and the local in very exciting ways. So please welcome Johan Reiman, Director of Corporate Responsibility at Volvo Group. Caterina, Occhio, ESG and Sustainability Advisor at UNIDO. Welcome. Alessandra Cornale, Program Director at the International Council of Swedish Industry, my new friend. Thank you for having lunch with me. And Sara Pavilainen, Liaison Officer at TI Opvet and Finnish National Agency for Education. Terve, hyvä. And joining us virtually is Victor Stolzenburg, a research economist at WTO. He's not here yet. And Svetlana Gerbel, a global partnerships manager at Siemens Healthineers. And last but not least, Daniel Daniel, responsible for formation and recruitment at Alteo Alumina. He's also joining us virtually. Hello, Victor. Nice to see you. Hi, everybody. Is Daniel and Svetlana, are they with us?
So I'm here.
No, I mean, but Daniel is going to join us virtually too, eh? Okay, he will be here very, very soon. Thank you so much. So I start with you, Johan. Thanks for hosting us, by the way, in this beautiful, beautiful location and up there where we had lunch. That was it was so nice with all the light and everything. Anyhow, what strategies can help companies de-risk local value addition while advancing corporate responsibility goals?
Oh, first of all, thank you, and thanks for everyone that has joined us here today at Volvo. Fantastic. Great start so far. Well, I would like to share a little bit about our journey from the Volvo Group and how we have gone from where we were in 2013 to where we are today in relation to social impact and the PPDPs. And I think there was Magda before. You were into this with the basics, and I think that also relates to us as companies, as in the private sector, and we need to start with the basics. So, I mean, my first recommendation would be that every company should begin really by a thorough analysis of their vision and mission, and their core competences in relation to social impact. And I also encourage companies to assess really what they are, what they sell and produce, and to identify specific obstacles that they encounter in their operations. And also my suggestion is that you should try to leverage this unique knowledge and assets to address these obstacles effectively. I mean, my suggestion is based on experience that the companies should then base their social impact activities on the outcomes on this internal analysis, ensuring alignment with their business strategy and objectives. That's something we discussed during lunch, actually. And also another thing, keep the reasoning and the reasons why you are engaging in PPDPs simple, because the PPDPs themselves tend to be quite complex in its implementations. Just the example from the Volvo Group again, I mean, the primary reason for us to engage is to address the global shortage of mechanics, to service and repair our products, but as well as commercial drivers for our customers. Another thing that is sometimes I wouldn't say overlooked, but not lifted up properly is the internal support that you need to have within your company to successfully implement the PPP project. You need to really have an engaged internal network and support from the top down, basically. So the people that you have in your network, they need to be engaged. They need to have a extensive internal network. And I have a few of my colleagues here today joining me. Helena, for example, works at Volvo Trucks. I mean, without her and her colleagues, we would never be able to successfully implement any PPDPs. Moving on, I mean, again, we began this journey in 2013, and we have continuously built up knowledge together with our partners, SIDA and UNIDO and others. These experiences are we trying to take with us when we move into new projects and partnerships. The reasoning or the sort of the business case for us is quite simple, actually. We need to invest in local workforce development for us to be long-term sustainable in several markets, in many markets, I would say. And hopefully by doing so, we can cement Volvo Group as a responsible corporate citizen and an active corporate citizen as well. And this is also one thing that we discussed during lunch here, if it's, again, business driven. So all the engagements that we have been part of for the past 12 years has derived from a request from the markets. I think with only one exception, it's the Balkans. It was actually I who came to you guys at Volvo Trucks and discussed that. But all the other 7 initiatives has come as a request from the market. We can take the example in Congo. Pre-corona, Volvo Construction Equipment came to me and said, well, we have been seeing what you have done in Ethiopia, in Zambia, and in Morocco. We see that it could be a very good thing for us to invest in the local school system here in Congo. And then we brought that forward. I think you were at NIR was involved as well at some point. So since 2013, I think Kari mentioned this before, the Volvo Group, we have been taking part in 8 different PPDPs in 7 different countries. We have 12,000 graduates to date, with a 70% plus employment rate and 14, sorry. Would have loved to say 40, but 14% female students.
Thank you so much, Johan, for now. Caterina, Occhio, UNIDO, what are the business benefits of localizing value addition within global chains?
An easy question.
Very easy question. All the questions are like so easy. You know it by heart.
I had prepared a very good answer, but then this morning I started to take all notes about what the speakers were saying. So I basically changed the narrative. So I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, just stop me, because I'm Italian. I can brag and talk for hours. Okay? So just stop me. It's part of my nature. What is the added adventure? Business case. Business case is essential. And you just mentioned it, Karen also mentioned it this morning. There had to be a shared value among all stakeholders for this to work. That we have to find a win-win solution where everybody gets its share. Why? I mean, with UNIDO, through the Fair Share program, we've been piloting for several years now, a social procurement model. I don't know if you are familiar with the terminology, social procurement, ethical sourcing. Yes, something like that, which is basically is leveraging the power of organization, of private sector organization, in not just creating direct employment, but indirect employment. An organization like Volvo, correct me if I'm wrong, have over 50,000 suppliers in the world. They are not direct employees, they are indirect employees. So social procurement or ethical sourcing is about introducing structurally into the supply chain social enterprises or enterprises that can give an opportunity to economic disadvantaged groups. Why? Why would you do that? And by the way, in Sweden, there are incredible examples. There is IKEA that has been implementing social procurement models for many years. Siemens as well has done it in UK. Introducing, and in this case, my area of specialization is more the manufacturing industry, and particularly the fashion and design industry, for a specific reason. The fashion industry and the design industry employs around the world, if you consider downstream employment in the supply chain, about 480 million people. 300 more, according to L. Macpherson Foundation, are hired in the upstream, meaning in the retails, in the transportation, in the logistics. So we're talking about a huge amount of people. And that has, the industry has another incredible characteristic too, if you allow me. The first one is that mobilize labor existing skills, handicraft, the power of hands. If you look at what you're wearing right now, all of you, all clothes are handmade. There is no other way to make that jacket or that shirt. No other way. And in development world, if there are two things that are available and could be mobilized for an added value, there are hands and heritage and crafts and skills that this industry needs to create added value at corporate level. Because this is how you differentiate your products, right? Now, we have been piloting this model in Egypt, for example, in the Rabha program that was funded by the Canada organization and implemented with the local Egyptian government. We mobilized over 6,000 women using their crafts, using their hands. And we've been partnering with luxury houses in Italy, in this case. I can't tell the name until it's official, but it's a very famous luxury house. We have been developing product for them, and UNIDO helped bridging this collaboration. Next year, next summer, on the market, there will be luxury product made by Egyptian women, verified by the World Fair Trade Organization, because one of the winning parts.
Why can't you name the brand?
Because it's not official.
But here we're a family here.
I can't.
No. Okay.
I say 4 names is one of the 4, okay? It's one of the 4 between Prada, Dior, Saint Laurent, and Versace.
Okay.
It's one of the 4.
Yeah.
Okay, I can say that. And each product will carry the tag specifying the name of the program, specifying that has been certified by the World Fair Trade Organization. Win-win for 4 main reasons. The first, a company needs to align with the upcoming legislation. CS Trouble D is coming, even if it's watered down by the omnibus, but it's coming, right? Second, ESG target that the company has. Uplifting your supply chain to go beyond compliance and reach ethical standards is a good score. Almost nobody has it. So it's also good PR, good marketing, telling the story. Creating work. I'm not talking about cheap labors. I'm talking about utilizing living wages that capitalize craftsmanship and heritage and uplift it by telling the story of the artisan that made that 2,000 euro bag, and they are paid fairly. Because remember that this industry is extremely unfair. And not just in developing world. I'm Italian. Have you heard about the scandal of Valentino and Dior? Chinese workers in manufacturing sites outside Milan actually working in modern slavery conditions. In my country, Italy, Milan.
And they're based there outside Milan.
20 minutes from the center of Brera, just for you to know. So addressing social injustice and helping company to minimize reputational risk is what social procurement can do. And to go, I'm citing Karin, beyond requirements into expectations. That's how you build resilient supply chain. HR motivation, you have no idea. Whenever you start to introduce this social procurement, what will happen to your employees? You'll tell them, hey, instead of sourcing that flowers from the usual suppliers, so why don't you try to source it from a social enterprise? That person, we go not the extra mile, we go 3 extra mile, because we'll know that by purchasing flowers, but that social enterprises, the impact will be huge. And the social value you create is beyond. And you create what is called, and I cite here, see, HR retention. And third, labor shortage, skills shortage. Social procurement is about skilled insertion of human beings. We in Europe are lacking hands. We also lost the ability to do things. We can't do that. I mean, my grandmother was fantastic in crochet and embroidery. Now, don't put a needle in my hand. I have no idea what I'm doing, right? So that ability to mobilize skilled labor force is another added value, but, and that's where the win-win comes even more stronger, transfer of knowledge and skills facilitated by organizations like UNIDO is essential. Because it's not enough to do a good crochet bag to get 1,000 of crochet bags that are identical so that they can be on display in Champs-Élysées. No, you need to professionalize them. You need to make them understand with business development skills what it means to be able to work at that level and assure consistent quality. We all worked, I mean, I'm from Naples. When I tell you I ship you something on Monday, come on, Monday. I said Monday. I meant maybe Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, no, Monday is Monday, right? So that skill transfer and uplifting an existing heritage into a level that can be structurally creating an added value for the market and for the rising consumers is what social procurement is about.
Wow. Thank you so much, Caterina. Alessandra, Cornale, what are the key sustainability advantages for multinational corporations that localize value addition within their supply chains?
Thank you. I think this is also a bit linked to the business case because there are many sustainability advantages, not only from an economic and operational perspective, but really from a strategic perspective. With the increasing demands that we see on companies to ensure responsible business conduct throughout the whole value chain, not only in their own operations, make that the companies really need to invest in value addition to contribute to long-term resilience. So the first is really supply chain resilience. Being closer to the key markets and raw material sources also reduces dependence on global transport and reduces risk of logistical bottlenecks, something that we saw a lot of during the pandemic, for example. The second advantage we're thinking about is improving compliance with environmental, social, and governance standards, ensuring a proactive risk management. Being close to the supply chain, the companies also have the possibility to monitor it more effectively and also increase control that the adherence really is there for the ESG regulations, such as, for example, labor standards. And then you can also hopefully prevent the violations of labor standards, for example. When it comes to the environment, of course, reducing carbon footprint is an advantage, and the environmental impact from long distance shipping and transportation logistics. It also enables efficient resource use and integration with renewable energy grids, for example. Another aspect that I think was mentioned earlier is circular economy, where you have local ecosystems that facilitate recycling and also minimizing waste, for example. When it comes to social sustainability, of course, localizing operations really support job creation and social equity. This requires investments in skill transfer and capacity building of local workforce. But I think that in the long run, it will also save money because you reduce dependence on bringing in expats, which many companies have to do when you don't have the local skills. And then you actually give jobs to the local population, which will then also boost the local economy. Localizing also enables companies to take on a larger social responsibility, supporting local communities, improving stakeholder engagement, relations, also strengthening really their social license to operate. Integrating with the local economy also fosters goodwill and market access, unlocking new market opportunities, for example. And the last advantage I would like to mention is that demonstrating commitment to invest in local value addition also strengthens brand reputation, something we talked about, and attract investments. And these are all really important business values. So it positions the companies as global leaders in sustainable business. So it's really a matter of business strategy. However, I also think that we need to highlight challenges because nowadays many companies also put requirements on that you need to have a local supply chains, but maybe the conditions for doing this are not favorable because you don't have the right skills there and you don't have the necessary structure of subcontractors, for example. So in any case, I mean, the key is really skills development, and this is needed throughout the whole value chain, and none the least also in the end use of products. And there are many Swedish companies such as Volvo also offer capacity building and training to their customers so that they also can ensure the use of products in a more sustainable way. So I think these are some of the advantages that I would like to mention.
Thank you so much, Alessandra. And now to Sarah Pavilainen, how can international education partnerships and development cooperation support MNCs in building skilled local workforces to strengthen value addition in producer countries?
Thank you very much for the question. I'm representing a Team Europe initiative called Opportunity Driven Skills and VET in Africa, like my colleague Charlotte, who was participating the previous panel session. And I'm from the Finnish National Agency for Education, where we develop national education system, but also internationalization of education and development cooperation. And I will approach this question by looking at the context of Sub-Saharan Africa a little bit again, although I think it's quite clear already what the context is. But I'm from Finland, not from Italy, so I need to stick with my nose here. So we know the challenge. So although there are huge investment opportunities in the region, especially in the renewable sector and, for example, in the transportation or transport, it might be difficult for the multinational companies to find skilled workforce to support the investments. And also often the VET ecosystem does not provide enough support for this. So in our Team Europe initiative, we approach this challenge with opportunity-driven approach. And it means that we take employment opportunities and actual jobs as a leading perspective. So we acknowledge that VET, or vocational education and training as such, does not provide jobs, but it can enable them together with private sector. So we first identify concrete job opportunities created by multinational companies or other investments. And then we design the training programs to match with the specific skills profiles required by the labor market. So the training programs can be upskilling or reskilling programs to match these exact job opportunities. So this then creates a win-win situation, both for the private sector, who can then find skilled labor force, and also for the local population, who can find decent employment. And in our program, we address this opportunity-driven approach by 3 lines of actions. We provide technical assistance for partners and programs to match their sectoral programs better with the employment opportunities provided by investments. And we also foster dialogue between private and public sector and collect good examples from existing projects that are already doing this. I heard so many good examples today here, so I want to talk to you more about those. And then finally, we are also funding projects in Sub-Saharan Africa related to this OPVET approach. Maybe to give you a bit of more context, let's imagine that there is a solar power plant investment in South Sudan, for example, and there is already secured funding from public and private sector. And now we need, of course, then skilled labor force to maintain the operation, both in the major companies operating the plant, but also along the supply chain and suppliers along the value chain. So this is where our program can come in. We can provide technical assistance, for example, for the organizers to analyze the skills gap in the region, provide advice for the vocational education institutions and for the private sector, or how they can reorient their focus towards the opportunity-driven approach, or to facilitate sustainable dialogue with the public sector in order to make the plant sustainable in the future. I think I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiitos. Over to you, Victor Stolzenburg. How does investing in local skills and capabilities help multinational corporations reduce the risk of global disruptions, for example, tariffs or pandemics or political tensions, and so on?
Thank you, Alessandra. I hope you can hear me well, and apologies, first of all, that I can't be with you in Gothenburg today. As most of the UN organizations, we are also somewhat affected by the current environment that is somewhat mentioned in the question itself. And therefore, I would also like to add the disclaimer that I speak in a personal capacity and not on behalf of the membership. Nevertheless, working for the WTO, I should be fairly unsuspicious when it comes to advocating for local value addition, because this is sometimes seen here in Geneva as a way of hidden protectionism, which it obviously is not. That said, I also want to stress first briefly that local sourcing is obviously not a panacea. We believe that especially obligatory local content requirements, but also import substitution tariffs or other reshoring incentives rarely lead to sustainable industrial development. Instead, I think to arrive at the win-win situation that so many of you have been talking about and that DG Müller was referring to earlier today, what you need, of course, is an organically grown competitive network of local suppliers. And that is, of course, where all these initiatives come in that you talk about today, and that I think can generate a lot of value, because we do believe that from the perspective of resilience, this is critical. Because while trade is good to reduce volatility by diversifying risks, what we've also seen, in particular over the last 2 decades, is an increase in over-concentration and an over-dependence on a small set of economies and a small set of suppliers. And we see there then obviously there's a risk to resilience. In research we did with the University of Kenya, for instance, where we tried to map out the share of concentrated trade, we found that this share has increased from less than 8% to close to 20% over the past 20 years. So that means that 20% of trade is now originating in economies that hold a majority in global supply for the products. And what we've also seen is that in times of crises, think of COVID or the global financial crisis, products where we have concentration issues, trade in these products drops much more sharply. So they are much more exposed to concentration risks, and they are much less resilient. That is, in times of crisis where we need resilience, these products are in fact the most problematic. What we've also found is that this is particularly the case for some of the most important business functions. Think of design, of management, of advanced manufacturing, because that's of course where you need a lot of upfront investments in local skills. It's not something you can move at a moment's notice. It's really something that you need to build up. And that's why we believe it's so important to invest upfront into these capacities locally, to preempt exactly this excessive concentration that we observe in some instances, and that creates so many problems during crises. So local sourcing is not a panacea, but it's an important component for development, and it's an important component for resilience going forward. Let me leave it at here.
Thank you, Victor. And now, Svetlana, Gerbel, what role does investing in local skills and collaborative models play in ensuring sustainable long-term value addition for companies operating in diverse markets? And how can this drive both social impact and business growth?
Thank you. So for us, building skills, it means saving lives. And actually, it's important for each of you also here in this room. And may I ask you a question? Please raise your hands if you had once in your life an X-ray exam or maybe computer tomography exam. Please raise your hand who has it. Okay, thank you. Put it down. So, and imagine that the person who runs this is not capable to do so, has no clue how to do it. It became dangerous. So also for those who travel in Central Asia or Africa, it's also essential that people can make appendicitis operation or a stroke, deal with stroke. So it's important. So for us, as a company who produce a high innovative equipment, difficult equipment to operate, it's essential to bring skills on the ground because of many reasons, because of patients, of course, and lives, but also because of our reputation. Because if something happens, then everybody will ask why you didn't care, Siemens Healthineers, about this particular equipment. And we are immediately in the situation where everybody will actually put a spot on us, even if maybe it's because of healthcare workers who run this equipment did a mistake. Yeah. So for us, it's about reputation. It's about also strengthening people on the ground. And in these terms, partnership is not simply useful, it's essential, because we cannot alone doing something in remote areas. And that's why it's important that government also actively support, also NGOs, universities, that we all on the ground in those remote areas create something sustainable, some curriculums, also local ground curriculums in a local language. So I saw personally in many region situations where some of really high-end equipment is placed, is available, but they are covered because people cannot use it even. And for example, I saw in one country that there are a lot of diabetes food amputations simply because healthcare doctors cannot use angiography. They cannot, but with angiography, you can simply fix this without amputated foot. Yeah, and this is scary because equipment is available, but nobody can operate this.
Oh,
yeah, and
fatal. Fatal.
And how to change this? Or also absurd situation when, for example, a big multilateral companies and banks also donate some equipment without thinking about service and education. For example, I personally think that maybe sometimes it's more important to maybe build a capacity locally that people can run the equipment, maintain this, and then maybe deploy the equipment. Yeah. So how to do it? First, I think it's really important to bridge this gap with partners. So, and you need government for that they are eager to develop the skill. You need universities. You need also, private sector like us, like Siemens Healthineers, who invest also digital tools, some simulators, co-develop curriculums. And then it's also important to ramp up it and make it sustainable and a solution which could be then scalable. For example, in Africa, we co-create with other Siemens entities like energy and mobility and industry, Siemens Academy, where we invest a lot, and it's operating right now many years. And I think it could be scalable then. It could be then somehow has an rep offices in other also African countries, or even we build something like this also in African countries. It's possible. So we also team up with GIZ in some locations, like it was in Kenya, it was Senegal, and Senegal, and also in Ukraine, for example. Right now, we also won a grant by BMZ to train hundreds of radiographers from Ukraine. We will do it in Poland. So I think in order to make something sustainable, it's important to team up with others. So, and if you pair innovations and educations, it's really strong change and change in the local communities.
The local aspect is crucial. Daniel Brodeur, how can investing in local training ecosystems strengthen value addition and reduce operational risk for companies in the extractive and processing industries? We can't really see you, Daniel. Are you with us still? You know, it's cold in here. Am I the only one who... Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I can take one. It's cold, isn't it? In here,
I think so.
Or
Is it cold?
a bit. Don't agree, yeah. Viking. Okay.
Maybe it is. Yeah, maybe.
Daniel. Yeah. Daniel. Okay, so then we go back to you, Johan.
Yes.
What is the main driver for the involvement of large multinational private sector companies like Volvo Group in PPDPs for skills development, would you say?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of similar things has been said here today about finding strategic motivations for engaging in PPDPs, for example, finding partners to do things or implement the project together with. And the cornerstone for Volvo is shared value for all our societal engagement activities. Well, if we have then abilities to train and educate mechanics and commercial drivers in complex markets together with our partners, then we really sort of attack business obstacles that we have. Then we are doing ourselves a favor, and we are also investing in the local society. So we get this shared value effect. So we do have this, and we are coming back to this, both me and Karin, with this shortage of mechanics and commercial drivers And the reasons for this varies throughout the world. It's a global issue that we have, and in many markets we do see then that we have an underperforming school system. So coming back to a little bit what I just said here, so if you have an underperforming school system, that is the main driver for this shortage. If we, as Volvo, together with our partners, invest in the local school system, by updating the curricula, by updating the national standards, we don't only address the shortage of the mechanics and the drivers, we are also addressing the youth unemployment. We are also addressing the gender imbalance. And if we put focus and have clear targets on female participation in our projects, then we're also attacking that issue. Then we sort of together bring then this shared value principle into effect. And coming back, I mean, partnerships have been mentioned a lot of times here today. It's really the key in many areas. I do really think that working in partnerships is the way forward. And Volvo Group, we could never have achieved the results that we have achieved if it wasn't for our partner that we have done this together. Especially when it comes to have some sort of systemic effect, because this is also one key aspect that we want to achieve. We don't just want to train a few mechanics and then leave without any ever long-lasting effects. So to have partners like SIDA that can bring in the local presence, the access to key stakeholders, the knowledge about our key target groups, it's essential for any success. And you need of bringing in their expertise when it comes to project management, implementing PPDPs since many years back, and also some things that can sometimes be a little bit overlooked, but a simple thing like getting equipment that we are donating into markets where and places in certain markets where we don't have sort of drop-off points in our own supply chain. It's super complex, but you have the tools for us to be successful in that and delivering the equipment to the local schools. So together we come to really bring out the best of each other's strength, and I really think that it's something that we should continue to do, and we are super happy for this 12 years. I'm also looking forward to do many more PPDPs going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Wish you many, many years ahead. Daniel, we missed you. Welcome back. And the question to you is, how can investing in local training ecosystems strengthen value addition and reduce operational risk for companies in the extractive and processing industries? We can't hear you. Sorry, you have to. Your microphone.
Sorry about that. Okay. So
yeah.
Can you hear me well? Are we good here?
Can we hear it? Yes.
Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. It's always nice to talk about training. I'll need to give you a little bit of context. Guinea right now is going through a very major changes in their economy. Most of the mining companies are required to start transforming locally. So Alteo was the first to get on board. However, some maybe are familiar with the mining sector, and usually for training, we will define our training needs and we'll build our own training infrastructure. Now, we'll have about 800 people to train, but then the problem, we're not solving the problem, which after training these people, we will have a normal staff turnover, and we'll have this big elephant that we invested much euros in that will be used at a fraction of its capacity. So this brought us to think about, okay, let's see what we could do in a public-private development partnership. So we called upon UNIDO expertise. We presented our challenges, and they, with us, designed this interesting approach where we would provide the competency matrix, what is needed in this industry, what are the skills needed, and we will go and see if, because we need engineers and we also need technicians, operators. So this project was to bring the higher education ministry and the technical training ministry together to build this new entity that will meet the industrial needs. Because, as I said, we will not be the first to build a refinery. We're the first, but this is something that will be going on as the years go by. And this was for us the most practical solution. So right now we're in the midst of ending the design. And so this new school will have these two entities within and will allow us to meet our needs. And, you know, a mechanical engineer can be used in the mining industry, but is also, you know, very valuable in the other industries. So this partnership will allow the whole industry to benefit. So basically, this is how we got together with UNIDO to design this project that will see the day of light in October this year. With there'll be one trade, one program, industrial mechanics. That's the technical side, and the higher education. We've introduced into an existing program several courses on the Bayer cycle, which is the process we're using to refine the bauxite.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Caterina, Occhio, how can procurement policies, both corporate and public, encourage sustainable sourcing and supplier development?
Not easy.
Not easy.
That's the short answer. Not easy, but absolutely possible. I mean, what is important to understand is that by capacitating local producer in this case, we are bringing up the standards of the entire local community to be very open. I mean, those are data maybe you're already aware. We spoke about the fact that in the manufacturing industry, garment and design, we have over 680 million employed from upstream to downstream. The vast majority of the people involved, especially in the manufacturing, work in informal economy. So, like what Dagny said, they have no social protection, over the 70% of them. The number are staggering. In North Africa, we are reaching about over 60% of the people working in formal economy. Sub-Saharan Africa goes to 80, 90. Asia is about 40 to 60%. So, I mean, whenever there is an opportunity to bring together private sector interest in sourcing from a local producer, the uplifting is incredible. And it's done in a scalable and sustainable manners, because by bringing up the professionalization, we bridge the skills gap by providing them a concrete employment opportunity. An employment opportunity that just not only uplift their skills, but uplift their compliance, uplift their health and security on the workplace. The vast majority of the handicraft sector, I don't know if you ever enter a workshop an handicraft workshop, if you have ever seen how chemicals are exposed if when they use it in their process, or how tools are used without protections, where the uplifting of the compliance standards in line with international requirements that the company have to stand for, this is creating something very important, which is a cultural shift. Because in the end, that's what we're talking about. It's the ability, it's the possibility to understand that we need a new paradigm, a new economic paradigm, where again, all parties have a positive outcome. The business case, the win-win situation. And one of the important things to underline is that throughout the production facilities, very seldom fair payment are employed. Minimum wages are very often the standard of the industry, but we know very well that the difference between minimum wage and living wage are staggering. Sometimes a living wage can be 2 to 3 times the legal minimum wage. Well, that is a key element into the equation we are trying to create with the social procurement model. In our ongoing program in Egypt, where we are piloting again with over 6,000 beneficiaries throughout the years, we managed to achieve 160% the living wage in all the artisans that started to be part of the program. And to be honest, when you bring this to the attention of the client in this case, they go like, okay, indeed, it's more than what we are used to do, it's more than what we are used to pay, but we have the insurance, also thanks to UNIDO and to the fair trade standard we introduced, that our reputational risks are managed, that our story can be told, and that we can reach that part of conscious consumers that is growing. Now, we may talk about whether it's true that consumers really buy more conscious items or not. There is an idiosyncrasy in consumer behavior. We are all very well of it, but it's a fact that there is a rising portion that is taking notes of what is happening at the corporate level. So just to summarize it, this cultural shift is essential, and it's built on a win-win solution where all parties understand that they can play the key role in using positive social impact for creating something that in the model is based on 3 core principles: beautiful, meaningful, and fairly profitable. Beautiful because the quality and of the service or of the product that we can provide through the inclusion of local producer does not have to be compromised. And that's only thanks to the support also of corporate capacity building and skills transfer. Meaningful because the social impact we are creating, introducing compliance standards, introducing living wages, are far beyond the simple program that we can introduce in that specific industry. And fairly profitable because all parties involved have a value that is created in a fair manner, because there's nothing wrong with making profit. It's how you share it. Proportionally, clearly, to the living standard of the country, this is happening. So a model like that, if standardized, is brought forward, we can estimate, and that's something that has been estimated by ILO as well, introducing social procurement into the private sector could lift millions of people out of the poverty line in a sustainable manner, economically as well.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. But the thing is that everybody seems to know all these things here, and you present them like so with such an elegance. No, but the thing is, why does it take so much time?
It's a cultural shift.
It's a cultural shift.
But when
there's a lot of resistance, I suppose, to that cultural shift.
Allow me to cite Victor Hugo, that says there is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And I'm convinced that now is the time for social procurement to become more a way to go for transforming the paradigm.
Thank you. Grazie. So from one grazie to Alessandra Cornale, how are Swedish industry associations supporting value addition in industrializing producer countries? And what skills are most in demand for achieving these objectives?
Well, Sweden, being a small export-dependent country, has had both the necessity but also really a long tradition in engaging in skills development with international partners, where both associations and companies engage in strategic cooperation and also workforce development. And this can take place, through capacity building programs with industry association peers, where you use Swedish expertise to build competencies, or it could be knowledge transfer through joint research and development projects. Another important area is strengthening the local supply ecosystem through public-private partnership that we've talked a lot about today. And also Swedish companies are present or have been present for a very long time in many of these low middle income countries and can contribute locally with sharing know-how or facilitating access to machinery, training in relevant areas, or also offering internships many times. But to mention some concrete examples, there are so many, but I will take those that I know best that are run by my organization, NEAR, where we gather our members that are all like big global exporting companies to identify challenges, but also to design interventions to address these challenges in cooperation with partners. At the moment, we're running 3 global development programs that are all funded by SIDA, and they all focus on building capacity and skills within the supply chain. So the first one is called Sustainability Impact Accelerator, and it's a capacity development tool which focuses on strengthening the local supply chain through knowledge sharing. And here we support partners to develop technical skills so that they can plan and implement and manage like large-scale infrastructure projects, according then to IFC performance standards and the UN guiding principles, for examples. Then these partners in the countries are able to attract funding for the projects, and they can also, in their hand, then put requirements on their supply chain to, this can be like in energy projects or railway projects, for example. The second project is the Swedish Workplace Program, which Karin Svensson also mentioned this morning, where we work with Swedish companies in their value chain. And here we really try to put people in the center of the business and contributing to decent work through cooperation and dialogue at the workplace, to increase innovation and productivity, and at the same time guarantee like a healthy workplace environment. Partnerships between workers and managers are essential. So we work to set up like dialogue platforms at the workplace where you can together address different sustainability challenges. And these platforms are also important to prepare for the just and green transition, because then managers and employees can together identify future skill needs and plan for how to transform the workplace.
Are they like platforms for dialogue?
Exactly.
Okay.
At the workplace specifically.
Okay,
so we have both managers and elected employees that can engage in the dialogue. But we also encourage actually our partners in these countries where we work to share with their value chain as well. And just to mention an example, in Colombia, we worked together with a Swedish company, and they were first really hesitant to talk about human and labor rights. But then after our intervention, they have really engaged also their value chain in training to also strengthen their possibilities to be competitive and integrate into international value chains. Then our third project is oriented around sustainable mining, and here we focus on reducing human rights and environmental risks. So we involve companies and communities and governments to promote responsible mining practices. This is also to boost regional competitiveness in mining. And we support them to implement then sustainability standards and using our private sector network because, as you know, Sweden is a mining country, so we have a lot of expertise around mining. Then you also asked about skills. So when it comes to skills in demand, I believe it's a mix of different skills, and some of them which are most mentioned by our members, and we also talked a lot about them today, so I'm not going to go through them in detail, but it's of course like green and sustainability skills and the digital skills. But I thought about that there you also need to have access to digital tools, which is often also a challenge in these countries. Also technical skills, of course, and also to have like continuous learning and adaptation to new skills when you're at the workplace. However, I would like to highlight that when investing in human capital, a strong focus is really put on these technical skills, where there could also be other skills that are as important. And just to give an example, we also have an initiative in DRC where we focus on human capital, and we set up a multi-stakeholder platform there to discuss issues around how to address skills development in different sectors. And last year, when we had our annual forum, we gather relevant stakeholders. So this is like public sector, private sector, communities, etc., to analyze what kind of skills are needed for the future of sustainable mining industry. And there, contrary to what we thought, skills that were raised were like language skills, like English, Mandarin, because a lot of the customers there are Chinese, also leadership and managerial skills and soft skills, because it's not, many of our partners says that it's when you come out from these technical schools, you have other technical skills, but then how are you going to communicate at the workplace? How do you act together with your colleagues? I mean, there are a lot of other soft skills that we also need to address. So this is why I think it's also really important to involve local stakeholders when designing these skills programs. And also, as we mentioned this morning, labor market information systems that can really gather and collect this. We really need a systemic approach. Yeah, that was a long answer to the long question.
Yeah, exactly, equally long. So Sarah Pavilainen, what role can multi-sector coalitions play in scaling vocational education and training programs that develop local capabilities critical to MNC's supply chains?
Thank you. I think to scale programs to meet the needs of the MNCs. We also want to, from the very beginning, we want to integrate the skills to the investment design. And I think multi-coalition sectors or multi-sector coalitions can play a role there, including vet institutions, but public sector also, private companies and development actors. And I will give you a couple of examples again from the Team Europe initiative, which is funded by EU and is part of the Global Gateway Investment Package. And Camilla, my colleague from Commission, will tell you more about the Global Gateway strategy later on. But we have 4 countries implementing it: Finland, Belgium, Enable, GIZ from Germany, and Expertise France. But going back to the example, as I mentioned earlier, we want to facilitate dialogue between vocational education and training institutions and private sector companies and also public sector institutions. And we want to do it in a way that we bring this opportunity-driven approach as part of the private sector discussions and events, and vice versa. We want to bring the private sector as part of the vet events, so that it's not just vet institutions talking together or private sector companies networking together, but actually facilitating real exchange between different parties to ensure that there can be actual partnerships available as a result of these discussions. So I think events like this forum today is very important and good example of this kind of collaboration. We have successfully brought this skills agenda as part of the, for example, the Energy Access Investment Forum in Uganda, Kampala in April, and also more recently as part of the DRC Mining Week in Congo. And now we will next join the Global African Hydrogen Forum in Namibia in September. So if you are interested in hydrogen investments and how to bring skills along, I hope I can see at least some of you there. Another example on how to ensure that training programs are not developed in isolation with the private sector. It's actually very crucial, of course, as said already several times, to understand the needs of the private sector. And let's be honest, as a public organization, we often do not speak private sector. So we need more opportunities to discuss with each other. And we have tackled this issue in our program in a way that we launched this or established this private sector advisory board. And this is to strengthen the cooperation with our program and with European and African private sector organization. So it's a consultative body linking the program with private sector and business networks. And the members include multinational companies like Brussels Airlines, but also small and medium-sized businesses and business associations. And this board gives us advice and share business intelligence from the region and provide information on ongoing investments in the countries, and also give like real concrete recommendation, and they share industry trends with us. I would be happy to tell you more examples, but I think I have to stop here, and I'm happy to discuss more later today.
Yeah, we have a Q&A later, so you will probably get some questions about that. Victor Stolzenburg, your work has emphasized the GVC participation, I cannot speak anymore, does not guarantee gain unless supported by strong institutions. How can MNCs actively contribute to institutional capacity, especially vocational training and workforce development, in ways that also benefit their bottom line?
Absolutely, Alessandra. It's research we have done here at the WTO, but also in cooperating with universities everywhere. We've heard that it's a very consistent finding in the academic literature that on-the-job training by MNCs in developing countries has incredibly positive multiplier effects on the societies themselves, but also on the firms that provide them. We have, for instance, studied the approach of Samsung in Vietnam, that has invested substantially in moving the economy first from its agricultural focus to initially assembly of light electronics, but now hosts actually some of the largest R&D centers of Samsung on the world. So there is this incredibly positive feedback effect. And what you can see now, that Samsung obviously spent a lot of money on these initiatives, but then in 2018, when the US-China trade conflict broke out, it was in a position to, in a much better position than many of its competitors, to react to this changing environment and shift production around. Now, that said, I think it's also important to caution that through such direct investments in skills initiatives, there's only so much that MNCs can do. I think this was partly mentioned already by the colleague from Siemens, that of course these efforts are at best a complement to national education programs and to the development of national education strategies. But I think this actually highlights a secondary role that is as important or even more important in which MNCs can contribute to skills development, and that is by providing the means to the host economies to invest in education. This is firstly, of course, a question of taxation, because we still see today that too often production, consumption, and taxation all takes place spatially separated. which makes it very difficult for developing economies to develop high-quality education systems. But it's also about something that Caterina was already adhering to when she spoke about social sourcing. It's about competition and market power. Because when it comes to remuneration of local suppliers or workers, we still have a lot of evidence also that MNCs do not pay essentially the fair prices or wages that are necessary for sustainable upgrading. And this links somewhat back to my earlier point, because of course concentration and market power exist not only at the level of countries, but first and foremost at the level of firms. And in many industries, we see that a very small share of firms control the majority of the global market. And that gives them obviously incredibly much market power over suppliers and over workers. And not exploiting this market power, but in fact investing into local skills development and value addition is crucial, because there's a lot of evidence that fairly remunerated suppliers do provide higher quality inputs. They provide inputs more reliably, and they provide these inputs also during crises in a much more resilient fashion. The reason, of course, is that by providing them with fair prices, they can invest much more in their own ecosystem. And what it also shows is that they are much more willing to invest into the relationship with the MNC, because exactly they extract also a larger share of the value added that is being generated. So I think when it comes to what MNCs can do, it's important to focus on the direct contribution through on-the-job training and these initiatives. But I think it's also very important to focus on this indirect contribution, because as we discussed a lot today, I think no one is questioning that the bottom line for MNCs will benefit from any of these investments.
Thank you, Victor. We're running out of time here. So I would like to ask Svetlana, how can MNCs collaborate with governments and training institutions to build local capabilities at scale?
So big corporations like Siemens Healthineers could have a huge role in building local capabilities. What we also do, we are directly presented in 70 countries around the globe and indirectly in 160. And of course, we do on a local scale capacity building when we deploy our equipment, like we make application training, we'll make also training of biomedical engineering staff who maintains equipment. But in order to make it sustainable, we need government who push also local people to invest their time in education. Because, for example, we tried to incorporate in our service contracts also some online trainings after some months of deployment of equipment, of installing of equipment, that people understand, or healthcare workers understand what they're missing, and they could reach out to us in order to get some additional training. But the usage of this particular offer was really not so big. So I think in this particular situation, it was really important for government, for MOH, to force also local healthcare workers to reach out and to build up this capability. So I think this magic of creating a sustainable capabilities and skills happens only when co-creation is happening, like all parties are intended and interested to build the skills on the ground. And of course, we collaborate with government in different ways. It could be conferences, it could be also some Siemens Academy like in Egypt. It could be even in some countries like in Turkey, we run a complete lab, a big automated lab, and also transfer know-how. But it's always should be a demand from government. And actually we, as a huge corporation, we collect a lot of information from those 70 countries or even more. So the best practices. We are also multiplier. We work with a lot of universities, and we teach also AI with them in order to make efficient diagnosis. So, and my question is how we deploy all this knowledge in an effective way in local communities where this is so needed. So I think for us, for example, maybe a bit more, I a bit extended your question, but for us, it's important like that project management, because we have a skills and knowledge, but it's not maybe in our first first goal to be a project manager company. Yeah. So, and government needs us, for example, and we need somehow somebody who also give this role as a project manager to build something up. And it could be different concepts adjusted to the concrete local needs. So communities and local people are really important in this co-creation because they also deploy the knowledge in a local language and with this specifics. Did I answer your question?
Yes, I think so. This question, it's not one question, it's 3. So you did great.
Okay, thank you.
It's quite complicated. And the last question for this session and is to Daniel Broder. What lessons can be drawn from Alteo's efforts to foster collective industry action around skills and the skills development for local value creation, would you say? I see him here, but I don't see. Okay, here you are.
We're good here?
Did you hear?
All right.
Did you hear my question?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So what we're taking from this is that the whole project goal is to make sure that there's a ripple effect in all of the education system in Guinea. So this center of excellency that we're working on is based on a lot of research. We know the gaps between the existing programs, the ones that the industry needs. This is clear. We're jumpstart the whole process, and we're working with the different ministries so they can leverage this to attract more industries into Guinea. It's the same thing all over the world. But the first thing an industry looks for is skilled labor, and we hope that they will be using this in every discussion with any industrial actor. So we know that we need to step up, and we need to be there until everything is embedded in their existing education system. That's why we'll be part of the school governing board of LEFAG. We'll make sure that this link between the industries or the future industries of Guinea have their word, and that the will is there at every level. So we'll be able to talk to you about this maybe in October, November, when we'll be welcoming our first group of students.
Okay, we look forward. Thank you so much, Daniel. We have a Q&A, but we are running out of time. Please feel free anyway to ask a question. And I think Kali will come to you with the microphone. We have a question over there. Hi. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Tom Walsh, Renatech. I'll be speaking in a few minutes. But one issue that came up, I think was different figures mentioned in terms of the formal and informal economy. I think it was 89% actually. It was the figure for sub-Saharan Africa. And I think this is a huge issue, actually. It relates to the youth unemployment. And I think the programs, I think it's very important that the programs are geared towards both the formal and informal sector. I mean, the informal sector is really, really important, that the activation of the skills and the skill sets is, I would say it's probably even more important that it's getting towards the informal sector, because in some sense those are people that are left out a little bit, and that's right across sub-Saharan Africa. So it's a question, a comment.
So who wants to answer that one?
Can I?
Yes, please.
Yes, it's the issue to tackle, and that's why I hope that from event like this there will come more beautiful action like the one we have heard today of private sector intervention in the countries we are discussing. We were talking about where indeed formalization of enterprises, of producers, of also labor force will be part certainly of their programs. So I see that the leveraging power of the DDPD also in that will be essential.
Thank you. Any other final reflection or any call to action? No, then it's time for a well-deserved coffee break, and refreshments will be served right next door. And enjoy and take your time and network with all these great and wise people that are here today with us. And thank you so much to you online. We're sorry you cannot be here. A big round of applause for this session. Thank you so much.